Hi friends, it's Valerie. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, I would love if you would hit that subscribe button and join my YouTube family. Today's video is going to be all about recipes that come from cookbooks. So actual physical cookbooks, this is really cool because I tend to use Pinterest a lot and go on the internet. So it's nice to get back to an actual cookbook. And this is a really cool idea that is hosted by Tamara from SouthernWife EverydayLife. And I will have a link in the description box down below to her channel, as well as a link to the playlist so you can go check out all the other lovely ladies and all the recipes that they have for you. So let's just get started. These are the two cookbooks that I'm going to be doing all the recipes from this video in, and I'm using two Betty Crocker books. One is the Easy Italian and one is Quick Fixes. I've really been liking these books. They have a lot of quick and easy meals and just not too many ingredients. So these are really fun to play around with. There's some interesting things in here, but one of the ones I'm making is the Parmesan, Orzo, and Meatballs. And then from this one, I've got the Caesar chicken and Orzo. And then this last one is a graham cracker crusted tilapia. And I contemplated not making this. It sounds very interesting, but part of me just had to try it. Try something different and let y'all know what I thought about it. So just keep watching if you want to know what I thought about that one. And I will have these linked in the description box down below if I can find a link to them on like Amazon or something like that for you guys. I'm starting off with a large skillet over medium-high heat, and I've added in about a tablespoon of oil, and now I'm just going to go ahead and cook up some chicken. I am reducing the original recipe down to only 2 chicken breasts instead of 4 because I just didn't need that amount of chicken, and it doesn't call for seasoning the chicken, but of course I am going to season it with just some salt and pepper and some garlic powder. You can use any seasonings that you like to use on your chicken. I'm just keeping it kind of basic here, and I'm also adding a little bit of paprika. I always like to add that on chicken for some color. And you're gonna go ahead and cook the chicken for 5 minutes on each side, so in total 10 minutes. And once that was done, I just plated it and set it aside. And to that same pan, I added in 1 cup of water, and it calls for 1 can of chicken broth, a 14.5-ounce can. I just mixed some water with some chicken bouillon. And now I'm adding in 1 cup of uncooked Orzo pasta, and I'm just going to go ahead and give that all a good stir. And we're just going to heat that until it's boiling, and I'm going to cook this uncovered for about 10 minutes. It says 8 to 10 minutes. It did take about 10 minutes for me, and I stirred this occasionally until the pasta was tender. Next, the recipe calls for about a pound of frozen whole baby carrots, green beans, and yellow beans, or it said I could use any other vegetables I had, so I am using these two different bags that I have here. I believe a California blend and a spring blend. And I'm just going to go ahead and add those in, and then it calls for a Caesar dressing. I had this Parmesan dressing, and it tastes just like a creamy Caesar dressing, so I'm using that in substitution, and I'm adding in 3 tablespoons of that. And then just go ahead and stir that all to combine the dressing and the vegetables with your Orzo, and it is still a little bit liquidy, so at this point you're just going to go ahead and let that go back to boiling, and then reduce your heat and just simmer this for another 5 minutes till your vegetables are like a crisp tender, or to your liking. If you want them softer, you can leave them a little longer. And once those were cooked, I added my chicken back to the pan towards the end. It still needed to cook a few more minutes, or the pasta did, but I wanted that chicken to reheat back up, so I just placed it on top and it reheated perfectly. I was worried that this Orzo pasta was going to take on too much of that Caesar dressing flavor, but it actually was very balanced. It didn't taste very strong at all. In fact, if you wanted more of that flavor, you should add an extra tablespoon or 2 of that. And I just served this with some garlic bread, and it was a very tasty and delicious meal. For this recipe, I'm starting off with my large skillet over medium-high heat. I'm spritzing a little bit of oil, and the recipe calls for 1.5 cups of frozen peppers and onions. I only had this pepper mix, so I just chopped up some fresh onions to kind of give me an equivalent of about 1.5 cups. I maybe went a little over, which is fine with me because I do like extra vegetables, and I did break up a few of those bigger sized peppers. Then I'm taking this Italian dressing and I'm going to go ahead and add in 2 tablespoons of that, and I'm just going to go ahead and stir that all together and let this cook for about 2 minutes, stirring frequently. Now I'm adding in 14 ounces of beef broth. That's about 1 3/4 cups worth. And I'm adding in 1 cup of uncooked orzo pasta, and I'm just going to go ahead and stir that all together. And even though the recipe says stir it with the meatballs, I'm going to use these Angus beef meatballs, and you're going to need 16 of them. They are frozen and cooked, and I didn't want to stir them with the orzo. I just wanted them to rest on top of the liquid, because I really thought that orzo could end up on top of the meatballs and then it wouldn't be submerged in the liquid. So that's just a little preference of mine. And I cooked those for about 10 minutes, and you have to stir them occasionally. So I put the lid on, and then every so often I would, remove the lid, just give them a good stir. I started to wonder if this had enough liquid. I was starting to get really worried about that, and it actually ended up being perfectly fine. And now I'm stirring in 1 cup of chopped tomatoes. It just calls for 1 large tomato, was about a cup. And I'm stirring that in, and I'm going to go ahead and put the lid back on and cook that for an additional 3 to 5 minutes, or until the rest of the liquid has cooked up from the orzo. And then I'm adding in about 2 to 3 tablespoons of fresh chopped parsley, and I'm just going to go ahead and stir that all together. And then we're going to need some Parmesan cheese. I'm just using this bagged kind. If you have fresh Parmesan cheese, that will totally work. And I'm going to go ahead and put 1/4 cup of that on top. And then I'm just going to place the lid on and let that kind of rest just for a few minutes, so that the cheese will melt on top. This is such an appealing looking skillet meal, and it's also super tasty. I highly recommend using Angus beef meatballs like that. They have been so flavorful in meals that I've used them in. And I just served this with some garlic toast rounds. I've been really enjoying meals that include orzo. Yeah, so highly recommend this. It was really, really good. Definitely will be having this one again. So for this last recipe, you're going to need 2 tablespoons of chopped and toasted pecans. So I am just chopping some up that I already had. They were in a larger chop. I'm kind of chopping them into a little bit of a finer chop. And I'm just following some note that's in this recipe, that is to place them on an ungreased pan and bake them at 350 degrees for about 10 minutes, stirring occasionally, and they'll just become golden brown. So that's exactly what I did. You're also going to need 1 teaspoon of grated lemon zest. So I'm just going to go ahead and grate that up. I'm not going to show you the whole process, but you will need that. And you're also going to keep that lemon for slicing later into some wedges. Next, you're going to need 1/2 cup of graham cracker crumbs. This is the whole reason behind me wanting to try this recipe, is that I'd never seen tilapia coated with graham cracker crumbs, and I wanted to give that a try. And I had these little packets of graham cracker crumbs that I just needed to use up, and so I'm just breaking them right here in the packages so that I don't have to pull any other Ziploc out or anything like that, and breaking them up, pouring them into a shallow dish so that I can use this dish to dip the tilapia in. And tilapia is a sweeter fish, so I was thinking this could be, like very well paired together. And to the same dish, you're going to go ahead and add in your grated lemon peel, and then you're also going to go ahead and add in 1/4 teaspoon of salt and 1/8 teaspoon of pepper, and just give this all a good stir. This is what we're going to coat that fish with. And to another shallow dish, I'm going to go ahead and add in 1/4 cup of milk. And we are also going to need 1 pound of tilapia fillets. Mine were frozen. I am just patting them dry with some paper towels. You can use other fishes that you like as well. And it says to 3/4 inch thick. I just was using these thin ones. This is what I get from Aldi, and they worked out perfectly fine for this. And so I'm just going to go ahead and dip that into the milk and then into that graham cracker mixture, and it kind of didn't stick too easily. I had to press it into the fish a little bit. And I've just got a baking dish here, or a baking pan, and I'm just going to go ahead and place that onto the bottom of the baking pan. And there are all the fillets nice and ready to go, and you're just going to drizzle them with oil. I'm using this little spray bottle I have to just spray them with some oil. And then you're going to put the toasted pecans on top of the fish. Now, these did end up burning for me, so I don't know, maybe if I were to ever do this again, I would put them in halfway through the oven process, or not toast them previously and just put the chopped pecans, and I feel like they would toast while cooking with the fish. And I'm going to go ahead and bake that uncovered at 500 degrees for about 10 minutes. And while that was cooking, I just cut up that lemon into some wedges to serve with the fish. Here you can see the pecans that had burnt, and it was easy to just like basically pick them off, like they fell right off, so they didn't ruin the dish. But of course I wouldn't have wanted to waste them, and I served this with some mac and cheese and just that some steamable broccoli. But this was an interesting dish. It had a sweeter taste, which wasn't something I'm used to. It wasn't horrible, but I'm not going to say it was my favorite. But next time I'd like to try this with just using like saltine crackers as a crust, and not going the sweet route. So if that's another idea for you, if you just want to change this up. Thanks so much for watching, friends. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to check out Tamara's channel and the playlist for all the other awesome ladies cookbook recipes.